All right, everybody, welcome back to another night of coverage of war in the Ukraine. I'm your host, Andrew Mercado of Mercado Media, and check on into the stream. Thank you so much for choosing independent media as your source for this war. Again, this is night 78. We are live here Thursday night. We're going to be talking about the soldiers in the Azovstal plant in Mariupol as the fighting continues around the plant, as soldiers are still trapped inside. We're going to be talking about there was a attack on a Russian vessel outside the coast of Odessa off of Snake Island. We're going to be talking about that. The UN Humanitarian Council opens up another investigation into Russian war crimes. We're going to be examining Russian war crimes. We're going to be going through war footage, war clips. We're going to be going through the map. Again, I've been covering this war since day one. If this is your first stream, welcome. We're glad to have you here. I'm your host, Andy Mercado. We'll be back after this short intro. Again, check into the stream, and thank you so much for tuning in. All right, again, everybody, welcome back to another night of coverage here. We're on night 78 of the war in Ukraine. I'm your host, Andy Mercado, and let's get into it. Again, thank you for choosing independent media, choosing content creators, people that are really putting their independent work into this and trying to figure out the daily updates and sourcing everything and compiling the day's news. It's harder than you think to do with all the amount of information and disinformation out there. It's tough to try to find the most accurate and relevant information, but we've been able to, and shout out to our community that assists in doing so every single night. We have an amazing Discord server. Shout out to the Snack Squad. Shout out to all of our veterans in the chat that help when we get to the combat clips and the military aspect of the war. Shout out to everybody that does assist with that in the open source intelligence. So you guys can follow along in the description of our video if you would like to. Ukraine war latest. And that's the one thing I did forget about in the intro, because I did cover it yesterday, and it's a repeat theme about Finland joining NATO, and they started the process today. They officially started the process to join NATO. It doesn't mean that they're in NATO. It doesn't mean that they're a member of NATO now. There's security guarantees that the United Kingdom and the United States have provided for both Finland and Sweden. Sweden has yet to apply. Finland started their application process today. So even though Finland isn't officially in NATO, and we will get to that, they do have security guarantees. So from both the United States and the United Kingdom. Finnish President Sauli Niinisto and Prime Minister Steinmeier announced on Thursday that their intention to submit an application to join NATO military alliance without delay. Russia, which shares an 810-mile border with Finland, classified the country's decision as a threat. Sweden is expected to decide it is also applying for membership in the coming days. From the German president's office, Steinmeier, Scholz expected to visit Kyiv. Deputy head of the president's office, Andrii Sybiha, said there have been progress in Ukraine's German relations, and Kyiv is expecting visits of German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier and Chancellor Olaf Scholz. 3 killed in the Russian attack on Novhorod-Siverskyi to Chernihiv Oblast. Russian forces have fired several missiles at the town's educational facilities overnight on May 12th, the North Operational Command reported. The attack killed 3 people, injured 12, and damaged multiple buildings. Russian proxies. Extraction of Ukrainian military from Azovstal won't be allowed. Denis Pushilin, leader of Kremlin's proxies in Donetsk, said Russian forces continue attempts to seize the steel plant in Mariupol and rule out extraction of Ukrainian soldiers from there. Ukrainian soldiers continue to hold the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol, but they have been repeatedly calling on Ukrainian and world leaders to find a way to get them out of the besieged plant, possibly by organizing an extraction to a third-party country. Russia's Dmitry Medvedev threatens NATO with nuclear war over helping Ukraine. Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Security Council, said that NATO sending weapons in Ukraine and training Ukrainians increases the likelihood of a direct and open conflict between NATO and Russia. Governor in the Luhansk Oblast is left without electricity and water. According to the Chernihiv, only around 21,000 residents still have gas. And that is in the Luhansk Oblast, that's in the Donbas. Prosecutor General's office, 1 killed in Russian attack in Dnipro-Petrovsk Oblast. Russian forces shelled Velkya Kostromka village with cluster munitions on May 12th, destroying a local energy facility and killing 1 person. Ukraine halts evacuation in Donetsk, Luhansk Oblast, due to Russian shelling. The town's mayor, Alexander Sturek, said the authorities will resume evacuation as soon as the shelling stops. According to the official, up to 15,000 residents remain in Donetsk. Thank you, Ram Diesel, for the $10 super chat. Thank you. And if you guys have any questions, too, during the stream, send through super chats and ask if you have any questions that way and you want to ask me something. I'll read off the chat as we go. EU leaders to discuss Ukraine's application to join the EU in June. According to the French Foreign Ministry, Ukraine's application for membership in the European Union is currently being examined by European Commission and will be discussed at a EU summit in June. Russian forces again attack Ukraine's biggest oil refinery in Kremachuk. Poltava Oblast Governor Dmytro Lunin said Russians launched 4 missiles at the refinery on May 12th. Explosions were reported in Poltava Oblast on the same day. The details will be revealed later. General Staff, Russian troops failed to seize new settlements in Donbas on May 12th. They tried to seize the village of Oleksandrivka in the Donetsk Oblast and the village of Voyodivka in the Luhansk Oblast. These attempts were unsuccessful, the General Staff adding, according to media reports, Russian troops have been trying to cut off the Severodonetsk area in Luhansk Oblast, where fighting is the most intense from the rest of the Ukrainian troops in the Donbas. The UN Human Rights Council supported the resolution to launch an investigation into war crimes of Russian troops. 33 countries participating in the council voted in favor of the investigation, and 12 abstained. China and Eritrea were the only countries to vote against it. Thanks to the actions of the Ukrainian military in the Black Sea, another ship of the Russian Navy caught fire. The logistics ship Vsevolod Bobrov, the spokesman of Odessa Regional Military Administration, Sergei Brachuk, said. According to him, this happened near Snake Island, and let's get into that now. Right away here, and here's it is on the map, right outside of Snake Island. And here is the information on the ship. Here's Snake Island, tiny island, but famous island at that. Right off the coast of Odessa. Ukraine reportedly attacks Navy logistics ship Veslovlad-Bobrov in Black Sea. This is from Q Captain. Ukrainian forces have reportedly attacked and damaged a Russian Navy logistics support vessel in the Black Sea, or GC Captain. I shouldn't say Q, GC Captain. Sergei Bratchuk, a spokesperson for the Odessa Regional Military Administration, confirmed the attack against the Veslovlad Bobrov, a multi-purpose logistics support ship delivered only recently in August of 2021. The ship reportedly sustained damage and was set on fire. As a result of the actions of our Navy, the Veslovlad Bobrov logistics ship, one of the newest in the Russian fleet, set on fire. They say she is limping towards Sevastopol, Bratchuk said, according to Ukrainian media reports. The Veslovlad Bobrov was built for the Russian Navy by Chernihiv shipyard in St. Petersburg, Russia. It is the second of 3 logistics support vessels in the Elbrus class Project 23-120. It is designed for range and operations including dry cargo transport, towing, fleet escort, and salvage and rescue. The vessel also features an ice-strengthened hull. The attack on the Veslovlad Bobrov, if confirmed, follows the sinking of the Moskva, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. In April, Russia's defense ministry eventually confirmed multiple casualties from that incident. So Ukraine reportedly attacks another Russian ship, this time a Navy logistics ship. There's an idea. That's what it looks like. Russian logistics. All right. Let's go over to Mykolaiv and see what this update is here. We have heavy explosions 5 hours ago, and then there's just the air raid alarm in Mykolaiv. So there hasn't been too many updates from Mykolaiv. There's, explosions from last night into... There's nightly shellings in Mykolaiv. But there was shellings 5 hours ago, reported a telegram. But beyond that, there hasn't been any major updates to that city. We're going to work our way to Zaporizhzhia. Heavy explosions reported in Zaporizhzhia 4 hours ago. Probably going to be a Telegram written source. Again, you don't see any video updates until the next day at this point on what that might be. So explosions reported 4 hours ago and 5 hours ago in Zaporizhzhia and Mykolaiv. This is to the south of Ukraine, north of Crimea. All right, the next report we're going to get to is in Mariupol. We have reports of from the Azovstal plant and then the cleanup within the city. All right, again, this is a southeastern port city. It's called Mariupol. The only territory left within this city that Ukrainian soldiers hold, or that isn't captured by Russian troops, is this Azovstal plant. This plant is huge. It was built during the Soviet Union's, when the Soviet Union was in power, to withstand a nuclear attack. So despite there being shellings daily on the infrastructure that's on the surface, there's tunnels and catacombs, and there's just miles and miles of underground safe territory, safe space for the soldiers. And then there were a bunch of civilians. There were hundreds and hundreds of civilians under there as well, but all of the civilians have been evacuated from the Azovstal plant. Where are we at with that? What did I do with? I forgot to slide this over here. So, and then where's the next one? Oops. Oh man, I thought I had all my tabs in the right order, and now I don't. That's in the east. Kyiv, Chernobyl. What am I missing? I'm missing one. Here it is. All right, I found it, y'all. My bad. Didn't mean to mess up the flow there, but all right, so let's go back. We're dialing back into Mariupol. I had my tabs in the wrong order. I've been messed up. So this is the Azovstal plant. Now we have a report from CBS News outside of the explosions and what it looks like on the outside. We saw a Chinese government source yesterday, and now here's one from CBS News who is outside of the Azovstal, and then we're actually going to look at footage, combat footage inside of the plant. As you can see, I mean, the same. It looks the same as yesterday when we were watching the Chinese government reports. There's not much left of the infrastructure on the exterior. All the infrastructure is damaged completely or bombed out. We did see a report yesterday from that plant. The Ukrainian flag still flies inside of it. Now we're going to be switching gears to the interior of the plant, and this is the Azov regiment engaging Russian soldiers on the 78th day of the war in conditions of complete encirclement. Despite the extremely difficult situation, lack of ammunition, and a large number of wounded, fighters of the Azov regiment continue to knock out the enemy from previously captured positions at the Azovstal plant. And you're gonna be able to see the manhole cover that they come up out of from underground in this video. So this is Azov soldiers engaging Russians inside the plant.
Все, забирай РПГ. Все, выдвигаемся.
It's not. There's space between it. It's hanging up on the door. It's on a hanger on the door. Thank you, S7V7M clown. Thank you. So again, this is the fighting inside of the plant, engaging with Russian soldiers. Highlights the Russian soldiers. You can see the white markings on their uniform from a distance, the bands. So a couple of things I noticed when I was going through this the first time is the camera looked down and you can see how they pop up to the surface. Here it's gonna show right after this. You can see how the Ukrainian soldiers are able to hop to the surface and fight and go back down. There's a manhole cover there to get down into the underground.
Все, забирай РПГ. Все, выдвигаемся.
Looks like no man's land in there. Looks like no man's land inside of the Azovstal. And now here is outside of the Azovstal plant, because Russia has control of the rest of the city. So that's the plant. Now looking outward, there's cleanup efforts going on. Russia's going to start taking control of the city, like they did with Luhansk and Donetsk and Kherson, or they're working to take full-on control of Kherson with their propaganda and full-on Russify the city. It's going to be taking place in Mariupol soon. The Azovstal plant is the only territory left that Ukrainian soldiers remain. But here is the rubble cleanup from the streets of Mariupol from Reuters, a report. So full credit to Reuters for this piece of reporting here in Mariupol from the cleanup.
Out of 3 rooms I had, only 1 was saved. The tank shot right into the window, a bit above the window. It took off everything, walls between rooms, all the furniture. Only a child's 8-square-meter room has been left. I came home from the shelter, opened the door, but there was no apartment anymore.
He went and took a shower, and his apartment wasn't there anymore. Tank had shot into his apartment, right into the window.
Above the window. It took off everything, walls between rooms, all the furniture.
All the furniture.
Only a child's 8-square-meter room has been left. I came home from the shelter, opened the door, but there was no apartment anymore.
So that's the cleanup efforts in Mariupol that is taking place. Again, Mariupol, the southeastern port city that is under Russian control, minus the Azovstal plant. Working our way up into the Donbas. Any updates here? We have air raid alarms. Again, blue markings on our map is Ukraine. So like air raid alarms, or if Ukraine takes back a city, or if there's a strike on Russian forces, or anything blue is Ukraine. Red is Russia. All right, so let's look here. According to Ukrainian sources, the Russians once again attempted to cross the Siversky Donetsk River, or Donetsk River, near Bilohorivka earlier this afternoon. It went about as well as their previous attempts. They've been trying to cross this river many times and failed every single time in doing so. And here's some photos. Have been unsuccessful in making it across the Donetsk River to further their advance into some of this white space here in the central eastern Donbas region that Russia is looking so desperately to get a hold of. Russian troops in Privin village near Rubenzine. This was 3 hours ago.
Нашими друзьями, союзники освободили поселок Южное, и теперь будем продвигаться дальше. Ахмат сила! Аллаху Акбар! Слава России! Ура! 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 Ахмат сила! Аллаху Акбар! Ахмат сила! Аллаху Акбар! Заря завод наш забрали, вот трудно, но забрали. Совместно с нашими коллегами, друзьями. Все сработали хорошо, без потерь. Надеемся, дальше так пойдем. Слава России! Слава Луганской Народной Республике! Ура! 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 Ура!
So that is the Chechens. Those are Chechen soldiers. They're doing that Ura thing. I guess that's like a chant, the Ura chant. And that's the Chechens. Russian troops in Privin village near Rubenzine. The villages are going back and forth in some areas in the Donbas. Going back and forth between Russian control, either from the Wagner group, the Chechens, but in the north Donbas, to the east of Kharkiv, Ukrainian forces are recapturing territory to the north. So there's more and more villages that Ukraine continues to liberate east of Kharkiv, and I won't be surprised if there'd be even more red space up here to the northeast. So although there are villages, and I mean the Popasna was taken by the Wagner group last week, Russia's private military, and then I mean that's the Chechen forces, the Kadyrov unit at the which is it again? In the Yuzhnoye settlement. In the Pivnin village. See exactly where that is on our map. Zoom out a little bit, switch map layers. That can't be it. That's not the right one. It's not in Kharkiv. That can't be the one. Spelled something. It's spelled different. Near the Zarya village more, so. South of Rubinzine. Southeast. Or Rubinzine. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong every time. Alright, so that's the Kadyrov unit. The TikTok army. They make videos all the time. 3 hours ago, Russian missile hit the Sharatsky village west of Sloviansk in the Donetsk region. From a telegram, here's photos. This is all in the east, in Donbas. The fighting has been going since 2014. Ruby Sina. I'm sure I even said that wrong too. Ruby Sina. All right, now we're going to be reading an article here. Russia hits East Ukraine as Finland moves towards joining NATO, which is the next subject that we're going to be talking about, Finland joining NATO, from the Irish Examiner. Russian forces pounded areas in Ukraine's east on Thursday, including the last pocket of resistant besieged Mariupol, as a war that is withdrawing Europe's security map pushed Russia's neighbor Finland closer to joining NATO. Finland President and Prime Minister said on Thursday that the Nordic country should apply without delay for membership in the Western Alliance, founded in part to counter the Soviet Union. The announcement means Finland is all but certain to apply to and be accepted in the military alliance whose members are committed to mutual defense, though the process could take months to complete. Neighboring Sweden could do the same within days. Russia's foreign ministry warned the country would take a retaliatory military tactical steps and said the move would, quote, inflict a serious damage to the Russian-Finnish relations as well as stability and security in Northern Europe. NATO's support of Ukraine, particularly by supplying weapons, has been critical to Kyiv's surprising success in stymieing Russia's invasion, which began on February 24th. Many observers thought Moscow's larger and better trained military would be harder to stop, but Ukrainians have bogged Russian troops down and thwarted their goal of overrunning the capital. And they've definitely thwarted their moves to the east as well. Now we're going to be talking about, here's a report from the Ukraine war, visiting liberated villages in the east. All right, so these are some of the villages that Ukraine is getting back as that's happening, and the counterattacks are increasing to the east. We're getting more and more reports coming out. So this is from Sky News and on their liberated villages.
The military guides warns we need to move fast. The road to Stary Saltiv is still dangerously exposed to enemy fire. And even though the Russian military is in retreat here, it is far from safe. All the villages have been battered. But so too have the Kremlin's forces. Remnants of tanks and armored vehicles burned up on the side of the road.
Зараз ви бачите танк Т-90М «Прорив». Це
There's
найсучасніший
another T-90 tank.
танк Російської Федерації. Як ви бачите результат роботи Карла Густава, піджарив цей танк.
Their bunkers are also smashed, and vehicles they'd used sprayed with bullets. As we move further into the village, what we see is from another world. Spindles of smoke pluming apocalyptically into the sky. Well, the area we're in has been recently liberated by Ukrainian forces, but you can see the situation here is extremely fluid. This area came under artillery fire not long ago, and you can see these vehicles which have been completely destroyed by Russian forces.
Это прямое попадание с танка, который вот стоит на горе, где мы только что были. Машина, колонна ехала, и он прям попал в нее. Вот взрыв от снаряда, ее развернуло. Все погибли.
What happened to the civilians here is beyond disturbing. This car packed with toys and baby clothes as the family tried to escape. And in the midst of all this, residents are still trying to flee. This group only now able to move out. arena widowed by this war.
К нам, к соседям рядом прилетел, его взрывной волной очень сильно ударило. И на следующий день видно, или тромб, или что, он умер. У меня тоже, я чуть-чуть контуженная, и позвоночник подбил. И пришлось похоронить так, как кто был, тот и похоронили.
Rescue workers are still dashing through the shifting front lines. These pictures, filmed by the driver, show the danger they face as they try to reach civilians.
Мы ездим уже за вот этими двумя, ездим четвертый день. Я их уговариваю. Они просто не хотят ехать. Я говорю, поймите, вы будете у меня жить. Ну, не вопрос. Ну, просто не хотят ехать. Но сегодня затолкали. Дедушка сам зашел, а жена его, отпихивалась. Но мы ее тоже.
The advances here are a sign of success for Ukrainian forces. But elsewhere, Russia continues to make ground, both sides trading blows in a conflict which is deepening every day. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Eastern Ukraine.
That was again from Sky News, from all these counterattacks that Ukraine is doing in the east and the northeast in Kharkiv. And I do have another compilation from Ukrainian special forces. We watched like nearly a 9-minute compilation of their moves to the east and to the east of Kharkiv. Comment where you guys are tuned in from. We're at the half-hour mark. What city, what state, where in the world our audience is tuned in from. Again, like the video. Thank you for choosing Mercado Media for your updates to the war and compiling all the news of the day. We're going to be tuned in now here. There's one scene of tactical combat casualty care, TC3 being done, where a guy, his leg has a gash in it, and they're treating it. It's like a couple seconds long, and that's the only graphic part of this video. It only shows it for a second. So, but we're going to be watching another Ukrainian Special Forces video, liberating villages. Ohio, Iowa, Bennett, Colorado, thank you so much for tuning in. Missoula, Montana, Scotland is tuned in. Denton, Texas, Iowa, thank you. St. Paul, Minnesota, West Virginia, Door County, Wisconsin, thank you so much. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, thank you so much. Mansfield, Ohio, I'm tuned in from your couch. Thank you so much. Independence, Missouri, glory to Ukraine. That pontoon bridge ambush was ridiculous. Putin must be foaming after that. I mean, there's been many ambushes on Russian soldiers. On their tactics have been terrible. Montana, Ohio, Winnipeg, Canada, St. Petersburg, Florida. Welcome, Kenosha. All right, Netherlands. All right, let's get into it. There's a video from Ukrainian Special Forces liberating more villages to So again, another video of Ukrainian special forces liberating more villages to the east in the Donbas up in Kharkiv. So they're comprised of multiple units within Ukraine's military and National Guard. Now we're going to be getting an update actually from Operator Starsky on why the Russians took Chernobyl early in the war, that the power plant that's been out of commission for multiple decades after the incident in the late 80s with the nuclear incident. So let's go to Operator Starsky. Why did Russians take Chernobyl? And he goes into that and he does a very good job. Again, Operator Starsky on YouTube. Definitely go subscribe and support his channel.
This day weren't supposed to start like that. So basically I am at the Chernobyl power plant. You can see it behind my back. And this place, as well as the Yellow Forest located nearby, were the places where Russian forces achieved their biggest victory over the mind of a human. So you probably saw this building in the British episodes of Chernobyl, and the Chernobyl power plant is right there. That's that sarcophagus. Basically they captured...
We've seen Chernobyl on HBO. If you haven't seen the TV show Chernobyl on HBO, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
This area and spent 1 month in here, and they made a lot of trenches in the polluted area of the so-called Yellow Forest. The problem is that they didn't know that this area is so dangerous for people to stay at for an extended period of time. Their commanders knew it, but of course they didn't tell it to their soldiers. And according to our workers who worked at this plant for this whole month, they were being captured here as hostages by Russian troops. So they asked those soldiers whether they knew where they are, and of course the answer was like no. They held those workers that still work in this area in the basement for almost a month.
Can you imagine being held in the basement of your work for over a month by a foreign military? They were held under there for over a month, and they were like that. This whole plant was captured by Russian forces. We watched it happen nearly live. Nora asked, $5 super chat, is Red Hat still around? You're talking about Orange Hat with John? He'll be back in Kyiv in June.
And this basement was more or less safe because it was underground. There were very thick walls, and it offered a very good protection against the radiation. So they made a lot of trenches in the Yellow Forest, and they of course put that soil from those trenches into the sandbags, and they used those sandbags with highly radioactive sand for protection. They were sleeping on those bags. They created their checkpoints and barricades with those sandbags, and workers reported that a lot of those Russian soldiers already had radioactive burns.
They had radioactive burns. Again, they used all of the sand and the soil from around the plant to make all of their barricades, and they got to sit there. It's a manual task of filling all of the sandbags up and making your guard posts and all of that. And their hands were all over it. They slept on it. He said they were covered in this radioactive soil the whole time.
Russian soldiers basically had their positions equipped with those sandbags with radioactive soil, because the most radioactive thing that you can find here in this area is on the ground. It's the very soil. So a lot of radioactive materials like wrecks of that fourth reactor that had exploded are buried under the ground. And I think that it's like, you know, for the first time in history, this area of Chernobyl was helpful to Ukraine, but mostly because of Russians' stupidity. An ordinary Chernobyl dog. In fact, there's a lot of dogs in the area, as well as wolves, and they feel totally convenient here.
And I know that it said bulls, but I think he said wolves. They have wolves there. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Christina. Christina with the super chat, and then Robert says, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you, Robert.
And I must say that it's hard to imagine just how proud were Russians for capturing this monument of death, because literally every hour spent in this polluted area around Chernobyl, it's a fragment of your life.
And you know what? And to be honest, before this war started, if you would have asked me where Chernobyl is, I would have said Russia. I had no idea. I didn't even know it was in Ukraine. I never even looked at a map of the area before this invasion began. So, I mean, I've just learned a lot, and that is a significant plant to just have that and Russia control that. It was like a big thing Russia needed early on in the war for like troop morale. Didn't work.
Away. Probably there was a reason for capturing this abandoned power plant. Probably because they thought about performing some kind of huge terrorist act involving radioactive materials. I think that we will have more information on that after the end of the investigation.
Another thing too, maybe to leverage their threats, so they could make scarier threats that they held a nuclear plant. They were hitting the Zaporizhzhia power plant like month 2 into the war, but also holding that plant. They could have leveraged a lot of their moves because like they're holding that plant. You know, could have been.
2 hours later.
So it was quite a ride, and there was this ceremony of awarding civilian workers as well as soldiers who defended this nuclear power plant. Of course, you will not see this, you will be free from this burden, because this is my personal blog, and for such official things we have our official page on Facebook and YouTube, etc. But this is my personal blog, so you will not see that. No need to thank me. I talked to this worker who worked at the nuclear station, and I asked him a question regarding, what was the point of capturing Chernobyl power plant. The answer was that Russian general apparently used this power plant as his headquarters, and of course he knew that this power plant was the safest place, so to say, because we would never bomb or attack this power plant.
So number one, I mean, the Russian general already had history with the power plant. He was based there, and then again they knew that it was a place that Ukraine isn't going to attack, or they're not going to bomb it. It's a nuclear power plant. It'd be a very strategic thing to hold.
For obvious reasons. And it's crazy. Of course, because there was this general, obviously his reserves were stationed nearby, which means that their supplies were also stationed nearby, so there was quite a lot of troops. And my second question to this worker was regarding those troops that were digging trenches in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. I'm talking about the so-called Yellow Forest. And he said, yeah, indeed, so they made a lot of trenches, and this worker told Russians to dig deeper.
Listen to this part. So the worker of the plant, I mean, the Russians were asking him like about how to avoid the radioactive land. They told him to dig deeper, and they put all their vehicles and equipment in the soil
To dig deeper into the soil. Yeah, I think he's got an odd sense of humor, like we all do here in the army. So yeah, he said that basically they were digging very deep into the soil, and all of their vehicles were also stationed in those trenches created specifically for those vehicles, to hide them from artillery fire deep in the radioactive soil of Chernobyl abandoned area. So that was basically the answer regarding this question for like why Russians kept occupying this Chernobyl area. Operator Starsky, thanks for watching.
He said that, again, the general said that it was the safest place because the general knew that that place was likely not going to get bombed. It was the safest place for him not to lose his life. That's what he meant by it. Because, like, Russian military, you don't make it long. It's a short life cycle in this invasion. But Chernobyl, or like occupying a structure like a power plant, Ukraine's not going to bomb that. They're not going to attack that. They're going to have to... They would have had to have worked out through diplomatic means for that thing if things would have went differently. But that's why the general wanted it, and he already had past experience of the plant. So now let's shift gears here before we get into our war coverage or the combat footage. We're going to be talking about Finland joining NATO, and we've been talking about it frequently here on the channel. But here is the latest. Finland's leaders call for NATO membership without delay. Finland's leaders said Thursday they're in favor of rapidly applying for NATO membership, paving the way for historic expansion of the alliance that could deal a serious blow to Russia and its military struggles with its war in Ukraine. The announcement by President Sauli Niinisto and Prime Minister Sanna Marin said that Finland is all but certain to join the Western Military Alliance, though few steps remain before the application process can begin. It's important to note that even though that they're applying, it doesn't mean that they're officially in NATO. They're not in NATO yet. They're not like a member of NATO. They have to go through an entire application process. So this is basically like they just filled out the application and turned it in. That's basically all that's happened to this point, or that's what they did today. They filled out the application and turned it into the NATO clerk, or however that process official. They did the paperwork. But it also is important to remember that both the United Kingdom and the United States have offered security guarantees to Finland and Sweden if they decide to join as well, which it's looking like in the coming weeks that Sweden is also going to be joining Finland in this. But Finland, and which is wild because out of the two countries, Finland's been historically mostly the stern one in terms of not joining NATO between both of them. Sweden and Finland are in a non-military pact, or they have been since the end of World War II, to not join either Russia and China shit or the United States and United Kingdoms or in the NATO. All right, they wanted a non-military pact to stay out of all of it. Here's Sweden, here's Finland, here's Russia. Finland has the largest border in Europe touching Russia. The largest piece of land. That's a very large border touching Russia. All right? Sweden and Finland, they've had a traditional non-military pact together to stay out of it. And this is a big deal. NATO membership would strengthen Finland's security. As a member of NATO, Finland would strengthen the entire defense alliance. Also, like, in general, Finland can handle itself without NATO. And now the fact that they're joining NATO, it's like, damn. It's like adding a ringer to an all-star team already. Or like if you already had like the best team, and the team just became even more unfair because of like Finland and Sweden can more than handle themselves outside of NATO, and now that they're getting all of NATO's trainings and all the equipment and everything, that NATO's huge now, or it's going to be. Russia reacted to the development with a warning. The Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that Finland joining NATO would inflict serious damage to Russian-Finnish relations as well as stability and security in Northern Europe. Russia will be forced to take retaliatory steps of military, technical, and other characteristics in order to counter the emerging threats to its national security. and then let's get into what exactly what the Finnish president said. And he blamed Vladimir Putin. He blamed Vladimir Putin straight up for his own actions. So let's listen again. We listened to this yesterday, but let's listen to a fresh clip of it from the president of Finland.
You have to keep in mind that this is not the first time we are discussing about NATO, and not the first time we will discuss about NATO with Russia. They have made it very clear earlier years that if you join NATO, they will do whatever they have explained, some contra steps. What they are, that is for us to guess. But now I got to get a bit deeper. The situation changed. So far, even Russia has said that having militarily non-aligned Finland and Sweden, that will stabilize Baltic Sea. That's what they have been talking. But then, in the end of last year, they stated that Finland and Sweden can't join NATO. They demanded that NATO doesn't take new members. Actually, they changed their own picture by that, because we have, with Sweden, been non-aligned militarily from our own will. But by stating that, Russia actually expressed that you don't have your own will here. And that is a huge change. That made us think. And what happened in 24th February, which continues the huge warfare Russia is having in Ukraine, surely that changed also the picture. They are ready to attack a neighboring country. If that would be the case that we join, well, my response would be that you caused this. Look at the mirror.
You caused this, look at the mirror. Because again, Russia keeps saying that it's like NATO that's it's like, you know, Russia's painting this picture like NATO's just like grabbing countries and like taking them and like, you're part of us now, you're part of us now. Where it's like Russia's own actions are causing these countries to join. And especially like Finland and Sweden, who have been for 60 years, since the end of World War II, didn't want any part of NATO. And now, since Finland's border is touching Russia, and Russia is just clearly not they're not caring at all right now. I don't blame them joining NATO and then getting all the support and help they can get on their border, because that's a long border with Russia right there. We have another report here, or another video I want to look into, because Russia's actually tried Finland before in the past, in history. And so we have a video from the Armchair Historian, Animated History, going into Finnish versus Soviet squads. Who was superior? And I'm going to actually do a poll in the chat too. Do you think Russia will retaliate against Finland for joining NATO? And then after this video, we're going to read Russia's response to today's developments.
For this matchup, we will inhabit two distinct time periods. Our first two matches will occur during the time of the Winter War, which was fought from November 1939 to March 1940. Our final battle will take place during the Continuation War, from June 1941 to September 1944. These battles are based on Soviet and Finnish squad tactics and equipment. However, we will be discounting heavy equipment such as armored vehicles, and while the use of artillery may be woven into the narrative of the engagements, it will not be a deciding factor. As always, these combat encounters are fictional and represent our opinion based on our research and perspective. With that, it's time to button up and join the action in Finland, 1940. The Soviet infantry can't help but feel an odd sense of comfort as they march along a rough-hewn forest trail. The smooth white dunes, the familiar chill in the breeze, a rhythmic crunching beneath their boots. It almost feels like home, but their reverie is interrupted by a thunderous crack. It's an ambush. The Soviets scramble as another shot clips the squad leader. The sergeant falls, grasping at his arm. He's winged, but still in the fight. Hidden among the trees, a squad of Finnish infantry fire a ragged volley with their M27 rifles. A staccato chorus of reports echoing through the trees. The Soviets dive into the drainage ditches alongside the trail, clearing their rifles for action. One brave soul cautiously leans out of cover, Mosin Nagant poised to fire on the first Finn he sees. But a Finn sees him first. 2 Soviets down, 9 to go. The sergeant orders covering fire while their DP-28 is set up. If they play their cards right, they can leapfrog away from the trail and into the other side of the trees. The Soviets fire wildly, sending an endless stream of shots toward the trees. Their shots splinter wood and churn slush, succeeding in stalling the Finns for a moment. And that's all the time they need. The assistant machine gunner slaps an ammunition tray onto the DP, giving his comrade a quick tap on the shoulder. And with a high-pitched chug, like a typewriter, the Soviet machine gun opens fire.
Товарищи, вы – острие копья в борьбе за освобождение мирового пролетариата, в борьбе против тех, кто мечтает навечно заковать его в цепи. От вас, как от солдат Красной Армии, ожидается, что вы будете атаковать врагов коммунизма с рвением и осознанностью. Позаботьтесь о своем оружии, и оно позаботится о вас и станет гарантом нашей победы. Добравшись до места назначения, несите смерть буржуазным захватчикам. Родина дала вам превосходную винтовку Мосина. Так свершите же народную месть. В этот момент ваши товарищи-пулеметчики будут продвигаться вперед. Поочередно маневрируйте и атакуйте. Не подставляйте товарищей под пули, и вы дезориентируйте противника. Это поможет продвижению вашего отряда и свершению нашей революции.
As the DP sends a stream of bullets into the thick forest canopy, the Soviet infantry break cover to pull back toward the safety of the trees behind them. The Finns dig in, weathering the barrage. They've seen the Soviets' tactics before, and know that their moment will come. The sergeant calls to his men, and they take cover among the snowdrifts to lay down cover with their Mosins. As the DP gunner and his assistant rush to catch up with their comrades, a group of Finns sortie from the trees, skiing into position behind a low stone wall. One brings up his KP-31 submachine gun, racking in a round from his impressive 71-round drum magazine before
the Finnish they did that in World War II. They had ski units that would ski down the mountains. Like they're built different. They're built different in the Viking countries.
Spray, firing his compact SMG like a squad support weapon. The wild fusillade sends the 2-man Soviet LMG team scrambling, keeping their heads down as they desperately try to cover distance as their Finnish enemies and Soviet comrades exchange fire. Lucky shots down a pair of Finnish riflemen, and the Finnish squad leader signals his men to advance. The Finns have the initiative, and they intend on keeping it. As the haggard LMG team catches up with the Soviet riflemen, the sergeant orders his men to make a break for the forest. The Finns quickly strap on their skis, flying from the forest to keep pace with their retreating foe.
Right here, Finnish troops were highly trained in Arctic skills, including wilderness survival and using skis for maneuvering on the battlefield. Hey, listen, we had to learn that shit in Alaska. All the Arctic soldiers, we had to, dude. As interesting as it is, that training sucks. But it is very crucial to know if you're going to be fighting in that environment how to use all this. We had to use Akios, we had to use the sleds, we had to use the skis, we had to do all that shit in uniform. We had to do it all in Alaska, all this training.
Foes. The Soviets make it to the opposite side of the woods, and the Finnish squad leader suddenly signals a halt. He knows the area. As the Soviets rush through the forest, looking back to ensure the Finns aren't following, they come upon a frozen lake. In their panic, they don't think to check the ice. What the hot lead of the Finnish infantry couldn't accomplish, the icy waters of the Kola River soon will. The Finns take the first match through their superior usage of guerrilla tactics and knowledge of the terrain. Especially in the early years of the Winter War, the Soviets deployed without winter clothing and camouflage, the reds, greens, and browns of their uniforms making them easy targets in the endless white of the Finnish tundra.
And they don't have, they don't have the shit to keep up now. They don't have the equipment to keep up in a winter. I mean, it's amazing that they invaded at the end of February. Maybe it's because that was like the ending of the war and they didn't have to worry about like a cold winter because they don't have the equipment to handle that. I'm amazed that they did in World War II, different time period, but now, I mean, I don't even know if they have thermal clothing to keep you warm and keep you in the fight.
Overconfidence and inexperience.
We can get out of this. This was a good to learn. I want to, if you guys can find a video, maybe we'll do it next stream of the when Russia invaded, or they tried to take Helsinki in World War II, or maybe they did. I don't know. That's what I need to watch. I need to watch a documentary on Russia and Finland. They definitely have a history. But here's Moscow's official response. Moscow warns Finland over NATO bid as Ukraine says Russian ship damage. Those that are asking, again, it's not that Finland is a part of NATO yet. They applied. The application process has begun. So, but with that comes United Kingdom and United States security guarantees. All right. So May 12th, Moscow warned Finland on Thursday it would face consequences as it seeks to apply for NATO membership without delay, and Ukraine said it had damaged a Russian Navy logistics ship in the Black Sea, where there had been renewed fighting in recent days. The Veselblad Bolbrov vessel was near Snake Island, close to Ukraine's sea with border with Romania, spokesman Serhiy Barachuk said for the Odessa Regional Military. Finland's plan to apply for NATO membership announced Thursday, and the expectation that Sweden will follow will bring about the expansion of the Western military alliance that Russian President Vladimir Putin aimed to prevent. Abandoning the neutrality they maintained throughout the Cold War would be one of the biggest shifts in European security in decades. Moscow called Finland's announcement hostile and threatened retaliation, including unspecified military technical measures. Helsinki must be aware of the responsibility and consequences of such a move, said the foreign ministry. Russian officials have spoken in the past about the potential measures, including stationing nuclear-armed missiles in the Baltic Sea. Dieter Herfert, thank you so much for the $7.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Those help a lot. NATO Security General Jens Stoltenberg said the Finns would be warmly welcomed and promised a smooth and swift extension process. The White House also backed such a move. We would support a NATO application by Finland and or Sweden should they apply, said Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Right? I can't say her name properly ever. So here it is right from the White House. White House welcomes Finland and Sweden moves.
The United States would support a NATO application by Finland and or Sweden should they choose to apply. We, of course, will respect whatever decision they make. Both Finland and Sweden are close and valued defense partners of the United States and of NATO. I would note that even without them being members of NATO, our militaries have worked together for many years. We're confident that we can find ways to work with them, address any concerns either country may have about the period now or whatever is required if they were to join NATO. I would say in terms of how this benefits the American people, I think is sort of what you're asking about. Having a strong NATO alliance, a strong Western alliance, which is a defensive alliance, by the way, is good for our security around the world. And certainly having a strong partnership with a range of countries, including Sweden and Finland, if they decide to join, should be reassuring to the American people about our own security interests.
Is the benefit at this point of having them in the alliance greater than the risk of the provocation?
I would just like to quote the president of Finland and what he said, which I don't think I could state it better in response to this question, which is, as it relates to Russia, you caused this, look at the mirror. That is, NATO is a defensive alliance. It's not an offensive alliance. Both Finland and Sweden are close and valued defense partners of the United States and NATO. They're thriving democracies. They've worked closely with NATO for years. There's no aggressive intent from NATO, from the United States, from Finland or Sweden. Obviously, they can speak for themselves, to Russia. But again, this is President Putin who caused this. Look at the mirror. And I think that also probably is the reason for what you've seen as public support for joining NATO increase in these countries as well.
Man, a lot of y'all can't let your biases go, huh? She didn't say one thing that was untrue, but you guys are still commenting. One thing she says is all about it's because your news that you go to outside of what we're covering here tells you to hate her. That's too bad. Not one thing she said was untrue. She quoted the president himself. She quoted the shit that we're covering now. It's tough, man. America's tough. Now wait till we get to the elections. It's gonna be spicy around here in the United States, dude. Super spice. Oh man, I'm gonna have safety meetings weekly, twice a day. The White House backed such a move. We would support a NATO application by Finland and or Sweden should they apply, said Press Secretary Jen Psaki. There you go. And it's also Helsinki. I did pronounce it wrong. My apologies. Helsinki. Russia faced a further setback on the battlefield as Ukraine drove its troops out of the region around the second largest city of Kharkiv, the fastest advance since forcing the Kremlin's forces from Kyiv and northeast over a month ago. The UN Human Rights Council passed a resolution to set up an investigation into possible war crimes by Russian troops in the Kyiv area and beyond, a move that the Kremlin had amounted to a political score settling. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, said there were many examples of possible war crimes, including unlawful killings and summary executions, which we're going to be getting to next.
Finland must join the NATO
This is the last report on NATO, and then we're going to be getting into the Human Council, or the Human Rights Council investigating these war crimes from Russia.
Alliance without delay, the country's president and prime minister confirmed on Thursday. In a major policy shift for the country, triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Moscow said the move was definitely a threat and that it was ready to respond. Having long warned Finland of consequences should it choose to join NATO, the Kremlin added that the expansion of the military bloc would not make Europe or the world more stable. But Finland's neighbour Sweden is also close to a decision on asking to join NATO after decades of following a neutral path. The announcement represents a huge setback for Russia, which had partly attempted to justify its invasion of Ukraine as a means to protect itself from NATO's eastwards expansion. The Finnish parliament will debate the announcement on Monday. Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto told EU lawmakers the move would improve security in the Baltic Sea region.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has altered the European and Finnish security environment. However, Finland is not facing an immediate military threat.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters that Russia wanted to avoid a direct clash with NATO, but that Moscow was prepared to make a decisive response to anyone that tried to hinder Russia's special military operation in Ukraine. Finland shares an 810-mile border with Russia that will more than double the current frontier between the US-led alliance and Russia, and put NATO guards a few hours' drive from the northern outskirts of St. Petersburg. Finland has gradually stepped up its cooperation with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization since Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. But it had resisted joining NATO in order to maintain friendly relations with its eastern neighbour until Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February. Ahead of Thursday's statement, Finnish President Sauli Niinisto said its move to join NATO demonstrated that Russia's actions had it backed into a corner.
If that would be the case that we join, well, my response would be that you caused this. Look at the mirror.
Look in the mirror. But Russia will still be like, yeah, no, I don't care what you said. I don't care what the words coming straight from the president of that country says. We say it's because of this reason, and that's why we're doing it. So that's how Russia works. We don't care. We don't care what the truth is. Our truth is the truth, and that's what we're going with. It's Russia's fault for these countries joining NATO. Russia's fault because they want to prevent. It's like they're trying to prevent NATO from growing. A part of me feels like this is, and like seeing the forest for the trees type thing, looking at the big picture, that Russia's intentionally doing this shit to like cause a conflict. Like they like knew that this was gonna happen. It's almost like they're intentionally making moves to make countries intentionally do things to do like in a backwards way to cause conflict. At this point, they had to have known. Here we're gonna switch gears now here into the UN Human Rights Council, which launches a probe into alleged war crimes. This is from the Times of Israel. Geneva, the United Nations Human Rights Council voted overwhelmingly on Thursday to launch an inquiry into alleged serious violations committed by Russian troops in Ukraine, putting their conduct further under the microscope. Concerned by extrajudicial execution, civilian casualties, the use of torture, and abuses against children, the Council voted 33-2 to create an investigation into alleged violations, with a few holding the perpetrators to account. China and Eritrea voted against the resolution, while 12 countries, including India, Pakistan, and Cuba, abstained. Russia branded the extraordinary meeting of UN's top rights body a politicized stunt and refused to attend, telling the council that an 11-year-old boy, now again, so this part here, until we get to the combat, is going to be extra viewer discretion, trigger warnings, all that stuff, from the content that I'm going to read to what we're going to be watching in the next couple clips of videos. Telling the council that an 11-year-old boy, now traumatized, had been raped in front of his mother. Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister Emny Zaporova said Russian President Vladimir Putin's forces were inflicting, quote, pure evil. Russia was committing the most gruesome human rights violations on the European continent in decades, she said, speaking from Kyiv. These have been the 10 weeks of sheer horror to the people of my country. Torture and enforced disappearances, sexual and gender-based violence, and the list of Russia's crimes is endless, she added. Only the world standing strong in solidarity with the Ukrainian people can defeat this pure evil. Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, triggering a global condemnation and increasing international isolation for Moscow. UN's top rights body voted on March 4th to trigger a commission of inquiry, the highest possible level of investigation into Russian violations during the war. The suburb of Bucha, north of Kyiv, became synonymous with allegations of Russian war crimes, with dozens of bodies and civilians' clothing were found there in early April, with some of their hands tied after Moscow's troops pulled back. Other allegations have come to light elsewhere in the country. Thursday's resolution asked the COI to prioritize an investigation to address the events in the areas of Kyiv, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, and Sumy regions in late February and March, with a view to holding these responsible to account. The resolution asked the COI brief the Council about its progress at September regular session and to include the complete findings in its report in the March 2023 session. So now here's a video. Ukraine's road to death shows Russians fired upon, a video investigation from the Wall Street Journal. So here's a piece, credit to Wall Street Journal for this.
This March 3rd video shows civilian vehicles being fired on while fleeing the occupied Ukrainian village of Motizhin. Located outside of Kyiv, between Motizhin and Yasna-Horadka, a roughly 4-mile stretch of road served as a crucial but perilous escape route from incoming Russian forces. Local police said 37 civilians died here between late February and the end of March. The Wall Street Journal analyzed videos, photos, messages posted to social media, and weapon debris. We interviewed multiple people in the village and reviewed phone calls between residents. We didn't account for all of the deaths, but we found evidence from a few key incidents that give a window into how a 4-mile stretch of road became one of the most blatant examples in the war of Russian soldiers attacking civilians attempting to flee. One man who made it through the road in March, Yuri Supernenko, recalled the horror.
Як тільки ми виїхали із села, це була дорога смерті. Від Мотижина до Ясногородки. Це було просто жахіття.
There are 3 main routes in and out of Motizian. During the first week of the war, the 2 roads to the north became the site of many civilian killings as they tried to flee Russian forces pushing south. Many Motizian residents turned to a road running southeast toward the village of Yasnohorodka in hopes of getting to places free of Russian troops. But this southern route would become just as perilous throughout the month. The stretch of road closer to Yasnohorodka is where many civilians were attacked. On March 3rd, a caravan of 3 evacuating vehicles were fired on here. Weapons experts say that the 2 projectiles seen in these videos are likely mortar and appear from the left of the frame, indicating that they were likely shot from the northeast side of the road, just east of Motizian, which a driver in one of these vehicles confirmed. In April, we found debris on the same stretch of road that experts say is from an 82mm or 120mm mortar, because of the shape of the tail fin and the markings seen here. These types of mortars can be fired from roughly 2 to 5 miles away. We found evidence of heavy Russian military activity in that range throughout the month. In a March 5th recording shared with the Wall Street Journal, Yuri Supernenko, who was still in Motizian at the time, called in a Russian firing location in this area to a member of the volunteer Ukrainian military.
Ну, смотри, минут 10 назад за селом, как ехать на Киевское озеро и дальше в поле метров 700, видно стоят установки, потому что вышли 2 ракеты.
Just to the west of the firing location Supernenko reported, we can see Russian vehicles in a drone video from late March. In a forested area just north of the Russian vehicles, in early April, the Wall Street Journal saw more evidence of Russian troops. A mass grave, and military badges from the 37th Guards Motor Rifle Brigade. Residents also said Russian troops fired on cars from positions close to the road. The Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. didn't respond to requests for comment. The Kremlin has said previously it is not targeting civilians. On March 7th, a message posted in a Motizian Telegram group warned of a roadblock. That same day, a civilian named Oleg Moskalenko, who was traveling towards Motizian, was taken captive at a checkpoint, according to his daughter. His car was left on the road. Rocks, likely used to block the road, are visible in videos filmed in the days that followed.
And I've seen
Moskalenko's friends and family used the
and I've seen so many videos, and I've seen that car right in the middle of this. I've seen some of these videos that they're going through on this road.
Find My Phone tool to track his phone. The last coordinates point to a line of trees along the road. Moskalenko's daughter said that he was questioned about being a member of the Ukrainian forces and beaten. He was eventually released by the Russians and is now recovering in a German hospital. We can still see Oleg's car on the road in a March 10th video filmed by evacuees. We also see another car abandoned nearby, suggesting more civilians were captured or fled. On March 16th, a news video shows a third car that's been abandoned, a damaged red station wagon with a white cloth tied to a side mirror, and a sign in the windshield that reads children in Russian and Ukrainian. Near the vehicle, Ukrainian soldiers discover the dead body of a local man. Facebook messages reveal that a woman driving in the car was rescued and taken to the hospital with injuries. We were unable to determine whether she ultimately survived. What Yuri Supernenko describes in the March 17th video after his escape speaks to the lasting toll of Russian brutality on the road.
Трупи, вони вже синівші, розстріляні автомобілі, в яких угадувались силуети дітей. Мої діти все це бачили. Старшою була істерика. У вісні просипається. Малий також постійно кричить. Не хочу розповідати.
Didn't want to talk about it. Russia targeting children. Here's another report from the BBC. Russian soldiers caught on camera killing Ukrainian civilians. Keeping up with the UN Human Rights Council starting to investigate the Russian war crimes. Here's video caught on CCTV camera of the killing civilians.
These are Russian soldiers on their way to loot and to kill. But their every move is caught on multiple cameras. And so is Leonid, the security guard, as he approaches them. The men talk, even smoke, and then the soldiers leave. But suddenly 2 turn back. They shoot Leonid and a second man multiple times in their backs. Leonid somehow survives. His boss dead, the guard staggers back to his hut and starts phoning for help. I met one of the friends Leonid called that day. He told Vasya the soldiers claimed they don't kill civilians. Then they shot him.
I asked how he was. I said, "Can you at least bandage yourself up?" And he said, "Vasya, I barely crawled here. Everything hurts so much. I feel really bad." So I told him to hang in there and started calling the territorial defense.
The Russians drove a stolen van, daubed with their V symbol and the words Russian Tank Special Forces.
So they spray painted Russian Tank Special Forces on a stolen van. Russia's military is literally just like, do they have any trained soldiers at all? Or do they just, in this invaded, dude, just, no.
And this is the man we saw
It's
shoot.
like they're all like criminals, dude. Did they like release the gulag and then give them all uniforms and said, "Hey, you guys are going on a special military operation"?
Now helping himself to a drink. He has no idea he's being filmed. No one does, until it's too late.
Too late.
And all this time, Leonid is hiding in here, bleeding heavily. Weeks later, we found his clothes and mattress bundled up outside. He died before help could reach him. I met the men who tried to save Leonid, Sasha and Kostya, who sold air conditioning before the war.
These 2 sold air conditioning before the war. Now look at them. They sold air conditioning, dude.
As they rushed to the scene that day, they tried to reassure Leonid that he'd make it, but they were scared themselves.
We went there knowing the risk, under fire. We knew the Russians would come back, and they had tanks, and we only had our guns. So our chances were not equal, but we had to go and get him.
They show me how the nearby road looked in those days, with Russian tanks rolling past their positions.
Notice the Wolverines on the cannon. Anybody know what that's from? Notice that?
Police have told us the Russians shot at anything that moved here. They found the bodies of 37 civilians on just this stretch of road. It's not just the burnt out buildings and businesses along this road that you see, but things like this. 2 Russian tanks just lodged in the forest, and you can see the V's painted on the front. And it's a really stark reminder of just how fierce the fighting was all along these roads into Kyiv, and how terrified Leonid must have been as he was lying there bleeding and calling for help.
You just got the highway behind her, cars driving now, and you got, because they did, I just can't believe it. It's their return to normal life kind of around the Kyiv Oblast, and there's just the remnants of the invasion just sitting there still.
Leonid's daughter shared this image of her dad as she'd like him remembered. Yulia is abroad now. She tells me she wants her father's killers to face justice.
My dad was not a military man at all. He was a pensioner. They killed a 65-year-old. What for? I'm not so much furious as full of grief and fear. These damn Russians are so out of control that I'm afraid of what they might do next.
Leonid never returned to his home or his pets. Another life stolen by Russian troops, now notorious for their brutality. Sarah Rainsford, BBC News, Kyiv.
Speaking of Red Dawn, it goes to show how much, maybe at the time, the Russian military might have been mighty, but you know that what they are now is just a bunch of thugs that don't even know how to fight and don't have motivation to fight, aren't equipped from their superiors. All right, next we're going to be getting into is the combat footage from Rob Lee. If you're a veteran in our chat, if you've ever served in the military, comment your branch, comment your years of service. We have an amazing veteran community here. Again, we're just going to be going through a bunch of military combat videos. We're at that point in the stream. So thank you for your service. I served in the Army from 2012 to 2016, active duty and Army Reserves. So, all right, so here we go. Rob Lee, video of a captured BTR-82 Alpha in the Kharkiv Oblast.
Ось, поджалив підарів. Better Z, блядь.
We got Army in the chat. That's what I'm talking about.
Ёбані кацапи. В рот їх єбать будем нахуй.
They made a new Red Dawn movie. It'd be like a 10-minute movie. The Russians would invade and then be beaten.
Ти капиздон нахуй російський, блядь.
We have a National Guard. That's not counting the territorial defense that I'm sure would take place in the United States with all the people that own firearms. Video of Ukrainian M777 howitzer being used in eastern Ukraine. There's some M777s.
Перший постріл.
If I would support troops, I would question the money given to Ukraine. How do you figure? How do you come about that? Alex, thank you.
Артилерійська дуель на Східному фронті. Українські артилеристи коригують вогонь, вносять поправки, виставляють новий приціл.
Looks like these are the Russians with the M777.
Ще постріл вже по уточнених координатах. І російська батарея, яка веде вогонь, буде знищена.
So wait, that was the time in between shots. This is Russians with the M777. Tell you what, they're not moving as fast as a Army howitzer team, that's for sure. Oh, we're doing the what about for veterans thing? You could seriously do like a what about for 3 hours on all the money that gets spent on things. Ukraine is one of them, but that's not the only thing we're spending money on.
На Східному фронті українські артилеристи коригують вогонь, вносять поправки.
Interesting. I wonder how this Russians are getting M777s. It's Ukraine. It says Ukrainian, but those don't. That doesn't look like a Ukrainian team. They're Ukrainians. There's a longer version. Okay, Elizabeth. Thank you. Okay. Send the longer version if you can find it in the Discord. We have an amazing Discord server, so we'll come back to that video if there's a longer version. Video from a failed river crossing by Russian forces in Sybiha in the Donetsk River. So this is that failed crossing. destroyed over the Donetsk River. The Russians tried to cross. The Russians trying to attempt to cross. I bet you the people that are focusing on, or there's the one person, didn't know that the United States has done Lend-Lease before. It's not the first time the United States has done Lend-Lease. Video of Ukraine's 503rd Naval Battalion of a UAV dropping munitions on a Russian BTR-82, a Euro truck, and a possible MTLB. So that's the Ukraine's 503rd Naval Infantry Battalion. Okay. Scrolling up, we got photos of a Russian Su-35S fighter in Ukraine that looks like a R-73 and a R-77 air-to-air missiles and a Kh-31 air-to-ground missile over the Kyiv Oblast. Sorry, I'm late, Andrew. That's all good. Thank you for joining us. Comment where you guys are tuned in from, what city and what state, where in the world you guys are watching from. Destroyed Russian K-63968 Typhoon K MRAP. Where was? Okay, we got the full clip. Thank you, Elizabeth, of that howitzer team. I don't know why they post it in segments. From the Guam Oblast. Nice. Hamilton, Ohio, Toronto, Canada, Syracuse, New York. Hello from Albany, Oregon. Good to see you. Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you so much, Martha. That's a Russian K, or was a Russian K-63968 Typhoon K MRAP, Dallas, Texas. Here's the full clip from that howitzer team. Ukrainian howitzer team with the M777 howitzers. Some of y'all in the chat trained on this thing. Here we go. Full clip.
Новітня американська гаубиця М777А2 готується до бойової роботи на сході України.
How you doing, Oregon? Good to see you, Southeast
Ось так
Australia.
виглядає ця потужна, грізна зброя. Зараз ми покажемо, як вона б'є російських окупантів. Надзвичайно висока точність, якість, ефективність, сучасні боєприпаси, сучасна гармата, великі втрати для російської армії. Готова до роботи. Всі системи працюють. Стан відмінний. Повністю готова до роботи. Працює постійно по російських окупантах. Ефективність вогневого ураження дуже висока. З сучасними снарядами, з сучасними боєприпасами новітніми. Вся ця гармата влучає з першого пострілу з дуже високою точністю.
Things got pins and everything in it. Definitely a piece of American
Перший
equipment.
постріл 20-30 метрів, максимальне відхилення. І одразу
I could learn that.
йде вогневе
in
ураження
a couple weeks.
ворога. Так що дякуємо нашим союзникам і дякуємо українським воїнам, які майстерно застосовують цю дуже потужну бойову техніку.
How you doing, Philly?
Да, тут постійно йдуть артилерійські бої, і наші артилеристи завдають ворогу дуже важких втрат. Україна обов'язково переможе. Бойова робота української артилерії на передовій на сході України. Українські артилеристи.
Good to have you. That was the full video. Okay. So it was a Ukrainian media worker Yuri Butsov published a video with those American M777 howitzers. Thank you, Brittany. Video from Ukraine's 79th Air Assault Brigade of a Russian vehicle on fire. There is a T-72B3 tank with a mine roller as well as a BTR-82 and another vehicle in the video. So again, in this video here, we got a T-72B3 tank with a mine roller, a BTR-62, and another vehicle from Ukraine. Looks like they took out a vehicle prior. I wonder if there's a video of that. A mine, they have a mine roller on a tank. I thought it, like, when I was watching this video the first time, I thought it was just pushing a car because they just don't know what they're doing in general. I don't even put a mine roller on a tank. Why? Okay, never mind. I'm not making sense of it. Video of a Stugna P ATGM strike on a Russian. Why are you having your tank as a mine rolling vehicle? Video of a Stugna P ATGM strike on a Russian BMP-1 in Rubinstein by Ukraine's 81st Air Mobile Brigade. Got a Stugna P video here. Have your tanks blown up more, I guess. They're just using their tanks for everything, apparently. And then they just leave them. Stugna P video. That was a direct hit. Right? Pair of Russian Su-25s attack aircraft in the Donbas. I wonder if it's the same team that we always see, or if it might be separate. There's consistent videos. Is this a Russian video? There's beautiful countryside in the Donbas, everything considered. The east of Ukraine's beautiful countryside. Is there more information on this? Well, the cameraman's in a helicopter. Probably a Russian helicopter filming Russian planes. Video from Ukraine's 92nd Mechanized Brigade that shows its soldiers in combat and captured a Russian T-72B3 tank, destroyed Rozgavir Avzotak. Like the video if you guys haven't. Again, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Hit that red button, subscribe, and you can comment. Again, that's video from Ukraine's 92nd Mechanized Brigade. Right on the front of the tank. The Su-25 in the Donbas, they look Ukrainian. So Ukrainian Su-25s. Alright, video from Russian artillery fire on Ukrainian positions in the Krasny-Liman region from a few days ago. The Krasny-Liman region. No audio on this one. In the Krasny-Liman region. Let's try to figure out where that is on the map again. Look at Liman. Maybe it's Lyman. In the Donetsk Oblast. Alright. Straight north of Donetsk. Northeast of Sloviansk. Alright, red marker. There's Kharkiv. To the east. Video reportedly showing a Ukrainian TB2 flying over Odessa a few days ago. Here's Odessa on the map. Southwestern port city. Right, there's Odessa. No audio on that clip. Alright, Russian Su-25 over the Kherson Oblast. Here's Kherson on the map. To the southeast of Mykolaiv. So if you want to look at your war map or your map, here's Mykolaiv, Kherson, southeast. Just imagine having jets flying above your neighborhood. Next, we have Russian Ka-52 and Mi-8 helicopters in Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Zaporizhzhia is here, north of Melitopol and Crimea. So here's Crimea, here's Melitopol, Zaporizhzhia, south of Dnipro. There's the Ka-52. That's the Mi-8. There's another Ka-52. The Ka-52 Alligator, that's this first helicopter. It's got the dual rotors on it. And then you got another you got the Mi-8, which is the closest helicopter. And then another Ka-52 behind it. Alright, Mi-8, and then another Ka-52 here. Ukrainian E-95M aerial target. These drones are distraction drones. They don't do anything. There's no surveillance, no weapons attached to them. Or not, they're distraction drones, I meant. They're meant to cause distractions. DNR artillery and mortar fire in Advidka. DNR, that's the Donetsk Republic. That is the separatist militia and the DNR artillery fire. Another video of Russian VDV paratroopers firing Konkurs ATGMs from BMD-2 and RPGs. Russian troops. Wow. Copewood.
Отход!
New poll coming up.
Отход!
You guys think they're another training video? It's hard to hear any return fire. A lot of images. Looks like they might this team might be engaging something here. They're shooting at something in the distance. Russians getting awards and death certificates. Ukrainian farmers with a captured Russian TOS-1 Alpha thermobaric MLRS BM-1 launcher. There's their thermobaric launcher being towed by a tractor. Tractors in the chat. Towing one of those. Oh, here you go. Ukrainian farmer with a captured Russian. It's the same. No, same tractor. Let's see. Another one. In a world where nothing mattered, one farmer, one Russian tank, this summer. Never gets old. Ukrainian SSO using a Punisher UAV to drop a munition on Russian MLRS rockets. Using a Punisher UAV to drop munitions on Russian MLRS multiple launch rocket systems. Wreckage of a Tu-141 Stridz UAV.
Я сфоткаю нас. Ну, мне для документации. А я просто... Ебать, сука, дура нахуй. Ого, блядь. Такая хуйня, малята.
Alright. Another one. Ukrainian farmer with a captured Russian MSTAS howitzer. Tractors in the chat. Another one. Why do they turn it sideways? Why do you do this? You know when you start... Alright, pro tip. When you start your video, you can't turn it sideways. This is for anybody that takes video. If you want to do a cell phone camera, if you do vertical like this, you're stuck. Trust me, this is coming from someone that did all their live streams in the beginning of time vertically instead of turning my phone sideways. You have to start the video sideways if you want a sideways video. You can't start it vertical and then turn it sideways. It's not going to adjust. You're going to have to edit the video afterwards. For general knowledge, if you turn your video sideways. Do this before you hit the play button. Love the farmers. Alright, pro tip. Another one, the same captured Central Military District TOS 1A MLRS. We're just getting lots of tractor videos. Alright. Video of Ukrainian counter battery fire on Russian artillery. Looks like a Nona K? What is that? pointless. I have my monetization off. That's why you guys don't see ads at all. If you watch any of my streams for the last, since the war started at least, you don't see ad breaks because I have to turn it off, because just in general they demonetize your stream for the war content. So it's not even just the music, it's just the content alone is enough for YouTube to say, nope, we're not putting ads on your stream. So I turn it off before every stream. So I'm not worried about it at all. It'd be great to make ad revenue, but what, I make like $10 in ad revenue every 5 months, so it's not even worth it anyways. They manually do it anyways, so it doesn't matter. What they can't take is all you guys that are sending super chats and super stickers and members. They don't take that. So thank you everybody that does support that way. But that's why I don't have copyrights or don't have ads on. Low-flying Russian Mi-24 helicopters in the Kherson Oblast. So more of those Mi-24s. They are flying low. Do you think it's to avoid Ukraine's anti-air? Is that more effective against the... I mean, I feel like that'd be easy targets for the... over the rockets. Russian private military contractors reportedly in Mali. They got Wagner Group in Mali. That's not Ukraine. Another video of destroyed Russian equipment from attempted river crossing. So here's more video of that river crossing that they tried again. I think it was like for the 3rd or 4th time they've tried to cross the Donetsk River. And they're able to hit able to hit some of their vehicles off the road as well. Which they put their vehicles literally right off of main roads. All you got, Ukraine's probably just like, oh, we just got to look at a map, pick main roads, hit the satellite, hit Maxar up, check it out. Oh wow, there's their vehicles right along the main road, just inward a little bit. Karina, $10 super chat. Thank you for your coverage. Followed you since the riots. Thank you, Karina. Video of Ukrainian forces firing British brimstone missiles from a truck. Let me read that again. Ukrainian forces firing British brimstone missiles. Now, what is that? British brimstone? Get low when the... Okay. Before we get low. Okay, we need a video. What is that? It's a multiple launch rocket system. British brimstone missile. What is that thing? Thank you, Rhonda, for the $3 super chat. The missiles the UK could send Ukraine. I want like the... There it is.
The target is an IS truck seen here.
Well, and this is from April 22nd, and we're seeing video of it being used. So I think it's gone from they could send them to they have, if we wanted to update this video title. But this is from Forces News from April 22nd about these brimstone missiles, what you just saw in the video.
Here in between the two buildings. It's destroyed quickly and accurately by a brimstone missile fired from an RAF Tornado. These days they're fired from Typhoons. Brimstone and its highly sophisticated guidance system has proved itself time and again in Iraq and Syria. But now the target could be Russian landing craft, and the brimstone is set to be fired from land. But will it work?
It will work. Integration onto a truck isn't going to be...
Will it work? It'll work.
Difficult. The engineers at NBDA will have already thought of this and probably are working on it as we speak. The maritime adaptation, putting it on helicopters, relatively straightforward integration. But I don't think we're talking of anything really sophisticated. This is about getting it to work. But more importantly, at the moment, it's the deterrence value of it to stop any Russian maritime aggression. I think brimstone could be very effective, but it's not a long-range missile, so it's not over the horizon. This is about, for example, deterring in the first place and then destroying Russian landing craft should they be foolish enough to attack, say, Odessa on the south coast.
Brimstone was developed in the UK especially for the RAF and is a fire-and-forget missile with an extremely advanced guidance system. It can even destroy itself if it can't find the target, minimising collateral damage. But its state-of-the-art nature could be a problem in itself.
The only issue with supplying it to somebody like Ukraine, much as we want to support Ukraine in its self-defense against everything that the Russians are doing, is of course this is a secret weapon. The millimetric wave radar seeker head is highly classified, the frequencies it operates on and those sort of things. The last thing the British government would like, I think, is much as it wants to help Ukraine, is to have this fall into the hands of the Russians. If it
went from top secret to on the battlefield in how long? This video was put on the 22nd.
Didn't detonate.
And top secret
Operation
no more.
of Brimstone is said to be simple for trained troops. Clearly, Ukrainian personnel would need that training. Air-launched, the second-generation variant can travel 37 miles, although there's no data on land launching. It could be a useful deterrent against a Russian sea invasion and ultimately has the capability to cause significant damage if such an invasion takes place. Tim Cooper, Forces News.
I didn't really that was a good info though about connecting it with Ukraine. Hold on. UK to send these brimstone missiles. I have never heard of these. This is from Crux on YouTube. This is Crux YouTube channel. I'll share all these links into the Discord server so you guys can go watch these videos as well. Just give them a view. All right. This is from Crux. Harpoons and javelins. UK to send brimstone missiles to Ukraine. Where's the brimstone part? We skip to that. What is a brimstone missile? Here we go. That's what we want. Do I have to read? Okay. Brimstone missiles were developed by arms manufacturer MBDA for the UK's Royal Air Force. There are anti-ship missiles and have been used by the British forces in Libya and Syria. Brimstone can also hit targets including ground vehicles like armored carriers and tanks. They are typically launched from fast jet aircraft such as a Typhoon. Yeah, but the video that we're seeing though, it's coming from like a little truck. I want to know what that truck is. They're typically... Okay. The Brimstone run entered service in 2005 before an updated version, Brimstone 2, was added to the RAF's arsenal. Okay, they're 6 feet long, a diameter of 180 millimeters, weighs 110 pounds, and has a range of 37 miles. So like the dude said in the last video, it doesn't have a very long range. Till date, none of the vehicle-mounted or ship-launched Brimstone versions have been deployed. Or that's like, I'm wondering what this is. What's this? It looks like a little jingle truck shooting these things. Dude, serious? Oh, it literally looks like a jingle truck shooting these. That's what it looked like to me. It looks like they rigged something to shoot these things out of. It's none of these. Ukraine will become the first confirmed operator of the ground-launched variant of the missile. We're looking at it. So maybe there isn't any videos on the thing we're looking at then. With the firepower of the Brimstone. The Brimstone is armed with a 6.3 warhead that explodes in stages. Kilogram warhead. It explodes in stages? Its warhead can switch between laser-seeking guidance and autonomous targeting. You can switch? It has autonomous targeting, dude? The warhead is a tandem-shaped charge with a different delay and proximity fusing modes. I know, right? It's a shoebox missile truck. That threw me off. The missile can be used in adverse weather conditions and at night due to its dual active millimetric wave radar. And some British dude probably just rolled up. I want to shoot my truck. It's just like a van. It's literally a van with this rocket system with like a tarp over it. Just some strange British dude rolls up. There's also an inertial navigation system, autopilot to get it to the general target area at extended ranges. Yeah, hey, check this out. Well, we're gonna have to see more on that because these are like these are videos from April, so that was before this thing got there, and now it's there. An Amazon truck. Literally, look at this thing. Can you guys see it well? Yeah. Looks like shelving, but it's just what holds the missiles. Interesting. We'll wait for more. If you guys have any more videos on the British Brimstones, keep an eye out for those videos coming out. Ukrainian UAV video showing Russian headquarters vehicle and Lear-2 EW system and other vehicles targeted by the Ukrainian artillery. Is there more? Nope. So Ukrainian UAV video destroying Russian military vehicles. Oh, gotta turn that down a little bit. I was thinking that too, Sinan. I was literally thinking that, like in my head. I'm like, damn, this looks like a United States neighborhood right here. I was thinking that while I was watching this. This looks like a Midwestern town. Like this looks like a town you drive through in Wisconsin, honestly. I swear to God. trees are a little different because of the location, but it looks like a small Midwestern town. Video of Ukrainian UAV dropping ammunition on a Russian truck in Zaporizhzhia Oblast. And since we got a location, here's Zaporizhzhia, north of Crimea. All right, they're north of Melitopol. It's got that power plant. Zaporizhzhia dropping Ukrainian UAV dropping munitions on Russian trucks. No audio here, it sounds like. Julie, I personally won't be able to be there covering the protest, but I'm trying to add a streamer to the team to go and stream. I have our softball tournament this weekend representing, but I'm definitely need to add more reporters. I'm going to do the best I can to at least have coverage of the event, but me personally, I won't be there. All right, that Ukrainian UAV dropping ammunition on a Russian truck in Zaporizhzhia. Video showing 2 of the 3. Is there more? Yep, there's more. Butstov with a decapitated Russian T-72 B3 OBR 2016 tank in the Kharkiv Oblast, reportedly by a Panzerfaust 3. Damn, a Panzerfaust can can destroy a tank that bad. Video showing 2 of the 3 destroyed, damaged Russian T-72 tanks.
Тук-тук, хто там? Чи є російські окупанти на місці? О! Ти диви, є. Сидить. Виходьте! Війна для вас закінчилась. Ев! Все! Парад перемоги у вас! Під Харковом буде. Тільки наш парад. А ви на ньому будете брати участь ось у такому вигляді. Славетна 93-я механізована бригада. Піхота винесла за допомогою панцерфаустів, німецьких панцерфаустів, 3 новітніх Т-72Б3 зразка 2016 року. Друзі, колись на цих місцях будуть водити екскурсії, будуть розповідати про подвиги і звитягу українських воїнів 93-ї механізованої бригади. Неодноразово ворог кілька разів з танками, як мінімум 3 атаки проводив на позиції української піхоти. І кожного разу наші воїни гранатометами німецькими Panzerfaust 3 відбивали усі ці атаки, знищували ворога і отримали кілька блискучих перемог.
Типу, ви швидко підійшли, чи до нього не підходили? До цього підходили, до того ні.
Ну, в принципі, думаю, про
Russia leaves their soldiers. They don't collect any of their troops, then they die. If you die as a Russian soldier, you die where you die. They don't come and get you. It's not like the United States at all.
Зараз ми сюди підійдемо, подивимось.
Бачите танчика.
Зараз ми все роздивимось. Смотрим.
That's the one thing you can't take away from United States soldiers or the United States military. We don't leave our dead. Right? We don't leave our dead. We take them with.
Т-72Б3, вот первый, вот второй. Да, працює артилерія. Так, що ж це там? Втрат немає, як ми бачимо. Да, ну, чиясь нога, російські танкісти.
Oh, I was ready for him to go into the whole thing. Oh, here we go. There's more.
Дивіться, це абсолютно новенький. Ми можемо розглянути, там у тих рванув БК, ми не можемо все помітити. Але ось тут добре видно. Це абсолютно новенький. Дивіться, все чисто. Всі прилади внутрішні. Дивіться, скільки тут запчастин. Це для наших танкістів. Все новеньке, мішочок, ломик, укладки зіп. Да, бачите,
It's going through their BII box right now. So like they're even Russian vehicles, it looks like they have these, but it's like where you store all your cables and your equipment for your vehicle.
Тут все акуратненько зроблено. Да.
It's like they have the -10 printed right on the top.
Значить, це новітній Т-72 Б3 зразка 2016 року. Да, ну ми тут трошки не будемо затримувати, знов таки. Танк
Gonna be able to salvage a lot from this one.
знищено. Блискуча робота української піхоти.
То дурнівля,
Damn, they left the tank.
І отримали від піхоти на День піхоти. То було 6 травня. То символічно, бо, до речі, міни обережні танкові. То було дуже символічно, бо піхота в День піхоти нахлобучила танкістів. І нічого собі, танковий прорив зупинили на секундочку.
I guess I've just been out of the military for so long, and but I still, like, we wouldn't leave this. This tank wouldn't be left if this was like an Abrams. But I've been saying that since the war started. But, like, there's lots to salvage on this tank here. Yeah, it's not operable right now, but like that's a gold mine. There's operable. There's cables in there and shit. The other half of the tank, you can salvage that.
Блискуча робота української піхоти.
То дурнівля, по полю.
All right, let's continue on. Video of the Czech M70 MLRS in service with Ukraine. RM70 multiple launch rocket system.
Там крутые пацаны едут.
Man, they're driving that thing, dude. It's a full send.
Там крутые пацаны едут.
Oh, why couldn't we drive that fast in the 5 to 10 miles an hour? Video of Ukraine. We watched this. We watched this at the beginning of the stream. Ukrainian forces, the special forces moving in the Kyiv Oblast. Second part. We see this too? Yeah, we saw that. Alright, video from Azov's Dnipro forces reportedly showing 2 Russian BMP-2 targeted by artillery fire.
Вийди, руснявий вод нашим зморений, хоч на хвилиночку в рай.
They're right there in the tree line. Why'd they take that one angle away, though? This was like the way better angle to see it all. And then it moves to... So it's... This is that corner. And then that... You can see the guy in the tree line getting set up to ambush those 2 tanks. Or not a tank, what is it, a BTR? Oh, BMP. Alright, let's see if there's anything new. I think that's the last. Oh, yep, that's the last of it. And again, we will get to this documentary. It's a half hour long. We're already almost at midnight here, so but we'll get to this documentary probably tomorrow. I'll do an afternoon Friday stream, Friday afternoon. Because I won't be streaming tomorrow night. That's the other thing too, y'all. Friday nights are my night off from covering the war. I'll be live on Sunday since I took Tuesday off, so I'll be live on Sunday. But I'm off tomorrow night. I'm going to be streaming my softball team, and then I'll be streaming video games tomorrow. If you guys are interested, after this stream, I'm going to be streaming some video games and answering questions in the chat, streaming some Call of Duty, hanging out with whoever's interested. Subscribe to Snack Squad Gaming on YouTube. You guys can find it on our homepage on the home channel, and I'll be on there in a little bit. I'm gonna schedule the stream, go have a safety meeting, come back, play some Call of Duty. I'll be live Saturday night too. Yep. So Friday nights are my night off, and Sundays, but it's probably just gonna be Fridays for a while. I might need to stream on Sundays going forward. So Fridays are my night off for now. All right, so Snack Squad Gaming on YouTube, guys, go over and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in today. We talked about Finland Finland's joining NATO, or the application process has been put in. We're just waiting on that. The United States and the United Kingdom have provided security guarantees while this process is going. The Azovstal plant in Mariupol, the fighting still continues there as Ukrainian soldiers are still within the facility. The fighting in the east continues. That's been going since 2014. It's increased since the invasion, but just because the invasion happened, it hasn't slowed down there at all. Artillery fire. Ukrainian soldiers have got those M777 howitzers online, so it's just a big howitzer battle, like World War I over there. In the North Donbas to the east of Kyiv, Ukrainian soldiers continue to gain new territory and new ground and get villages liberated from Russian forces. The UN Humanitarian Council is launching an investigation into Russian war crimes, and that has been the update from today, from night 78 of the war in Ukraine. Again, I'm your host, Andrew Mercado. Thank you again for choosing Mercado Media as your source for this war coverage. I hope to see you guys on Snack Squad Gaming later. Shout out to our Snack Squad community. Join our Discord server. Thank you to everybody that sent super chat, super stickers. Thank you to all of our members. Thank you to everybody that subscribes to the channel. Thank you to everybody that likes the video. See you guys tomorrow afternoon. Have a good one.